What is up, everybody? Hope you're doing well today. Today's news is fairly interesting as we're talking about James Gunn being even more transparent on DCU plans and connections across all DC media. He's been tweeting again, and we're going to go through some of those and what this could mean in not only the DC universe, but the animation side of things and the also canonical gaming side of things. We also have some Penguin Series updates, and if there is any merit to these reports, it is going to get so very interesting within that of the larger Falcone family connection. Not just Sofia, but also Alberto Falcone, some Arkham Asylum connections. We're also going to talk about Zoe Kravitz and what she has to say about the Batman 2, just for any of the naysayers saying, oh, the Batman 2 isn't happening, Matt Reeves' universe is going bye-bye. We're going to address that a little bit more. And also a little few tidbits on a Clayface horror movie by Mike Flanagan, which we've talked about a long while ago, I think, but it's certainly interesting regarding that Hollywood Reporter article that came out only a couple of months, well, last month, I think. First of all, let's start on the James Gunn tweets, because what I love about James Gunn being one of the two heads of DC Studios, and I think, whether you are absolutely, over the moon or not with him being one of the heads of DC Studios, is that most people are agreeing that the transparency he gives, granted he can't be transparent in absolutely everything, is so much better than what we have ever really had before. So the first tweet here, a fan asked James Gunn on Twitter saying, James Gunn, are you and your partner planning to give more DC character TV shows that will add to the story for the DCEU? Now, what I liked here about James Gunn's response, because I keep finding myself correcting myself, because he says DCU. He doesn't copy what he said, DCEU. He says, yes, most definitely. The DCU, so it's just like the MCU now, the DC universe will be connected across film and TV, and in brackets, animation, which is something we've heard a little while ago, but now he's kind of hammered down again. And this is what's making people certainly speculate about what this is going to mean for future content, not only in film. So, for example, after the Flash film, whatever comes, like the Lobo tease that he gave, the Mr. Terrific, and God knows what's coming in the future, that's going to be connected to not only TV, so like Peacemaker is technically in the DCEU, we're getting Peacemaker Season 2, etc., etc. That's all going to be connected in the same DC universe continuity, just like how Loki with Tom Hiddleston's Loki is connected to the MCU movies, right? But also animation. And what I like about this is, even though we have lots of DC animation that we love, some are hit and miss, and as of late, a lot of fans have been feeling like Warner Bros. Discovery just doesn't give a damn about the animation side of things. We're going to have animated movies that are canon to the DC Universe movies as well, which I am actually pretty hyped about that, just because animation can be incredible, especially with certain animated styles. So knowing that we could get some kick-ass animated movies that are, connected to the continuity in the next 8 to 10 year plan, because don't forget, 8 to 10 years time, Jesus Christ, I'm going to be in my late 30s. So whatever James Gunn, Peter Safran are cooking up here, they are having to cook up a bunch, and that's going to involve an interconnected universe, whether it's animated TV show on HBO Max or whatever, plus movie side. But this also begs the question, it's like, okay, but aren't there going to be some other things? And this is what I love about the transparency. Going back to what I said a second ago, we do get more transparency on that, because some people were thinking, okay, that's all well and cool, but not gonna lie, I would like something like Batman Gotham by Gaslight, how it's a little standalone thing that wouldn't be canon to whatever, the Flash movie and the DC Universe mainline movies are about. I want stuff outside of that. Especially when there was another tweet that James Gunn responded to here saying, are there any plans for games to be connected to the DC universe as well, Mr. Gunn? He said yes. So then people were thinking, okay, cool. We're literally going to have video games on the PS5, PC, Xbox Series X, whatever, that are connected to the canon of the DC universe and the TV shows and the animation side of things. But it begs the question again, okay, but with those games, that's all well said and done. I'm interested in that, but aren't we ever going to have something else removed from that? Like my Gotham by Gaslight example. And this is the transparency I'm on about, because somebody replied to that tweet saying, I hope not all games will be connected to the movie universe. We would have never have gotten the amazing Batman Arkham or Injustice games if they had to be canon to the movies. And James Gunn says, not all. Which I find very interesting for several reasons, because you know, even though right at the minute everything's being advertised as being under DC Studios, which is true, long story short, I think this causes a bit of confusion because everyone's like, well, what about Joker 2 Folie à Deux or Matt Reeves' The Batman universe, right? The way I give this analogy is it's just like DC Comics. You have Elseworld stories, you know, you have Rebirth, New 52, you have one-shots, you have all these things, right, that are under the main umbrella brand of DC Comics, but not everything is in the same continuity. It's the exact same thing with, you know, what we've just been over with the animations, to that of the TV shows and the movies, and how fans were saying, you know, I love that, but what about this? We never would have got Batman Arkham Knight, or Arkham Asylum, or the Injustice games, or what about something like Gotham by Gaslight, or these other animated movies that aren't actually beholden or a part of the DC Universe timeline? And James Gunn is saying, yeah, there will be some things like that as well, but ultimately it's still under the same brand umbrella of DC Studios, just like how every comic, no matter what continuity it's in, is under the brand of DC Comics. So that's why I think, despite all of this, everything's going to be connected, I think for the most part, James Gunn and Peter Safran, under David Zaslav's mandate of like, make me a 10-year plan for DC to rival Marvel, right, will be connected. But you're telling me that means that Todd Phillips's Joaquin Phoenix Joker is going to be the Joker of the DC universe? No. I'll hold my hands up if I'm wrong, but I severely doubt it. But it's under the brand of DC Studios, just not a part of that mainline DC universe continuity, right? Same, in my opinion, with Matt Reeves' The Batman. There are some other tweets here with a fan asking, will DC Studios have any hand in the comics side of DC publishing? And James Gunn replies, very open communication. As everyone knows, I'm a huge comic book fan, and I hope everything we do will lead to more people reading DC Comics and vice versa. But Peter and I are not in charge of the comics, just all filmed DC entertainment. So everyone who might be freaking out about how every DC comic that gets put out, whatever Black Label series you're reading or a fan of or whatever moving forward, will somehow be a part of the canon of the DCU as well. No, just like how there's going to be other games that aren't actual DC Universe canon games, animated movies, etc., etc., James Gunn is making it very clear here that even though there is a massive striving towards a connected universe like the MCU, there are things outside of that, and they're not actually in charge of the comics, even though there is this open communication. So with that being said, I do expect there'll be maybe a bit of collaboration, probably a few comics, just like what we've seen with, you know, the prequel comics to the Flash movie, Black Adam movie, even if you want to toss in Matt Reeves' The Batman with the Riddler Year 1, and that's coming out with an issue 2 on December 27th, so maybe more movie-supported comics and stuff like that. And Amanda Waller herself here asks, just one question, James, just one. Are we going to hear more about this plan before SDCC, so San Diego Comic-Con 2023? Please answer, thanks. And he said, I'd find it surprising if you didn't hear at least a little bit more before then, which is good to know, because I did say recently, and again, I'm not blowing smoke, it's just me predicting things, and we know that James Gunn and Peter Safran are supposedly delivering their 8 to 10 year plan to Warner Bros. Discovery and Zaslav in the next couple of months, 3 months-ish, right? And I said, okay, with that being said, I would be surprised myself if we didn't hear a little bit more things a month or two after that. So 3 or 4 or 5 months from when this video is uploading, we should have some more teasers, and hopefully bigger teasers than just a Lobo picture being released by James Gunn and that of a Mr. Terrific one. Not that I'm complaining there, because again, that's like the equivalent of Kevin Feige just literally tweeting out a picture, and you can't blame any fan for thinking, okay, obviously that's a part of their 8 to 10 year plan, those two characters. So I think we're going to get that, but then some. But anyway, that is the James Gunn roundup today, guys. I will always keep an eye on this, because obviously it is the arguably most interesting thing right now, because we don't know a shite ton about it. Even though we're getting nuggets every now and again, there's still a lot up in the air. Like, we truly don't know where the pieces fall on the board exactly. All right, so we have some Penguin Series updates, and these are a few days old, but I'm only just getting around to it now. And as I always say, take it with a grain of salt, even though what I will say is, I believe the Illuminati, this is where the reports are coming from, they have been like pretty legit in previous reports, but I guess just like all scoops, you know, not every single source source or information you get, you can never know for an absolute certainty that it is the be-all and end-all. But I believe I have referenced the Illuminati for a while now, and they have panned out in some things, and as for the details, they do sound realistic within that of the Penguin series premise. This is some really, really, really interesting stuff if it becomes true, because we're talking about Sofia Falcone being in Arkham, Alberto, we're going to get in some fan castings for him, because we were talking about that last night in a live stream. Do turn notifications on, because I do stream on the channel. We do like 2-hour Q&As and just nerd out about everything. So first of all, the Illuminati say that Illuminati has learned some exciting information about the upcoming shoot, which we can now share. The Penguin is filming under the working title of Boss. Additionally, the Penguin is preparing to shoot from January to August of 2023 in New York City. That's interesting that they're calling it Boss. I feel like that working title is self-explanatory, whether he's aiming to be the boss or Penguin is the boss. There's other bosses, Sofia Falcone or Alberto Falcone, who are, trying to work towards filling that vacuum of power that Falcone left behind. As for January, I've seen some people talking about conflicting information there. I do believe it was reported over the past several months that it could be February, could be January. Some major trades just reference the new year for Penguin. But yeah, January to me is probably the date as they're reporting here again. When they're starting to shoot. What's interesting about this is I may as well bring up release date, because if they're shooting from January to August, can it still come out in 2023? I believe it can, but I'm not sure if it will. It could be a 2024 release, and that might be the case, because when you think about the Penguin coming out in 2024, we might not get the Batman until 2025. I know a lot of fans want it in the fall of 2024, but if we're let's just slap it on 2025 just to make sure we're not too disappointed by getting our hopes up for 2024 release date. Penguin releasing in 2024 will fill a bit of a vacuum of the Batman Matt Reeves content, right? Because it would have been since 2022 to 2025 before we get that main Chapter 2 installment since Chapter 1. But 2023, the thing about the Penguin series is it's 8 episodes. And don't get me wrong, they're going to be shooting all the way up until August, assuming things go to schedule, of course. But given that the Penguin won't require shite tons of CGI, I'm sure there's going to be, stuff that they do in the backdrop of Gotham and whatnot, and, visual effects in some manner, like explosions, other things like guns and whatnot, and sound. But I do feel like they could make it work to be a December release date for 2023. There's shows that shoot for HBO Max all the time that span over the summer periods that then release in the fall, like, October. Titans is an example of that, and arguably that has more VFX than I assume the Penguin series will have. And I know some people might be like, are you really comparing the Penguin series to HBO Max's Titans? I am, because I'm not saying HBO Max Titans has got the best visual effects in the world. I'm just saying they shot over the summer. They're shooting 12 episodes. Granted that right now they've split it into a half season thing and they're releasing the next half of the season in 2023. You get an idea for how, if a show like that with a lot of VFX and all kinds of things like that can still put out 6 episodes in the fall of the same year it was shooting in the summer, then I truly do believe that the Penguin series, which is a bit more, cinema-esque in its approach, that can release in 2023. But what I will say is don't get your hopes up. So let's now tackle Sofia Falcone. So the Illuminati go on to say that unfortunately for the Penguin, the daughter of Carmine Falcone, Sofia, has recently been released from Arkham Asylum. She served almost a decade's worth of time after she was put away by none other than Oswald Cobblepot. Oz is in the fight for his life if he wants to become the king of Gotham's underworld, because Sofia knows how to hold a grudge. Sofia Falcone is a bold, sharp villain whose next move is never predictable. Sofia's presence makes the entire room tense. Sofia is also the sister of Selina Kyle, aka Catwoman, as both are daughters of Don Falcone. It is unclear if Catwoman will appear on The Penguin. Kristen Milioti will play Sofia Falcone on the upcoming HBO Max Penguin series, and we've covered that casting. But here's the thing that I find so fascinating. I'm just not so sure about this piece of information, because they're claiming that Sofia Falcone has been in Arkham Asylum for the insane for a decade, 10 long years. And I think, by the way, let me put this out there, that is a great premise to introduce her character. She's been in Arkham Asylum for the insane for 10 years. She gets out after her father dies. And that just adds, for me, the audience wondering, and probably characters around her, just how unpredictable she could be in the scenes. And now imagine she's just got out of Arkham for the past 10 years. That sounds really cool. I think that makes a character automatically just that much more interesting. But the thing that made me doubt it, only just in my head, even though I've got a bit of a reason here behind it, is, but Penguin put her away? Would Carmine Falcone let that happen? Because if she's been in Arkham for 10 years, why did Falcone let that slide? If Penguin was the reason that she got put away in Arkham. Now, there could be a reality to this if this report and scoop is to be believed, because maybe Penguin 10 years ago, because as we know, he's Carmine Falcone's right-hand man. So maybe 10 years ago, he convinced Falcone and framed Sofia to be, in a way that was perhaps crazy, unpredictable. Perhaps he, sold a story to Falcone that made her seem really untrustworthy. That was based on more or less nothing but Penguin wanting to get her out of the way. Maybe she was the thorn in his side. Maybe, as Falcone says, you've always just been a gimp in a suit. Maybe Sofia thought that just as much as her father did. And as we know, Penguin, as he said in the Batman deleted scene, one day everyone in this city is going to know my name, or like the city's going to be mine. And maybe Sofia was in his way. And if this is true, I low-key do want it to be true. I hope the story of how somehow Penguin convinced Falcone that his daughter should go to Arkham is a believable one. And if that happens, though, when she gets out, she's going to have more of a grudge than ever against Penguin. Not only is Penguin trying to take the seat, but he's the one who put her away. So I would love to know your guys' thoughts on that. Do you like the idea? Like me, it sounds cool, but how did that happen 10 years ago? I really want those pieces of the puzzle put together if this is true. But again, just thinking of Sofia coming out of Arkham, and maybe she wasn't, maybe she was crazy, or maybe she did have some mental health issues, I don't know. But if she wasn't, and she was just framed and put there, imagine how much anger you would have after being in an insane asylum for 10 years for doing absolutely nothing wrong, other than someone like Penguin just wanting to get closer to your dad. But how about more members of the family? So, if this is to be believed, as I always say, grain of salt, but the Illuminati has also learned from our sources that Alberto Falcone will be a guest star on the 8-episode DC TV series. Alberto is an addict battling his demons, something that makes his job as the new head of the Falcone family quite difficult. Alberto is a socialite in his 30s who is unprepared for his newfound responsibility in Gotham. Additionally, the Illuminati has learned that HBO Max is looking to cast Milo Scraper, the tactful concierge of the Falcone crime family. Joining the cast of the Falcone family in The Penguin is Johnny Vitti, an ill-tempered cousin of the family. In the comics, Vitti is the nephew of Don Falcone. So what I find really interesting about this, and if it is true, is, again, I'm not saying this is predictable, I could be completely wrong, but I do see a clear vision in my mind that Alberto Falcone is going to be the spoiled brat child of Don, Carmine Falcone. And, considering it's labeling him here in this character description as an addict battling his demons, so he's thrust into this world, his dad is dead, all of his men, loyal higher-ups of the Falcone criminal organization, are saying, right, boy, get in this seat. You need to sort this out. So he's an addict battling demons, and this makes his job as the new head of the Falcone family quite difficult. But he's a socialite as well, so again, he's in his 30s, he's young, he's an addict, he's very much so a socialite in his 30s, going out all the time, and he's very unprepared for his newfound responsibility in Gotham. I can imagine that he's, as I said, going to be a brat, and his sister, even though she isn't the head, I can imagine that she's going to come in, whether it's out of Arkham Asylum or not, as we just went over, and she will probably be the very less impulsive one. Her brother's probably going to be very impulsive. Sofia's going to be the brains, the one to actually fear, the leader behind the leader. And that makes me wonder what will happen to Alberto, if he will die. Will he die quicker? Will Sofia do something to her own brother even? There's all these questions to ask, since I feel like her brother's just not going to be able to handle the pressure that he's thrust into, especially with a war in his hands, the power grab that many gangs in Gotham are participating in, mainly Penguin, of course. So yeah, I can just see a vision where Sofia is just going to come in and Alberto is going to need her, like very much so. She's going to be the one who is actually equipped to handle this situation. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I don't know if anyone watched Preacher And, you know, if you did, you might know of the character Cassidy, played by Joseph Gilgun. I feel like he would be a fantastic Alberto Falcone. He's, you know, got that intimidating kind of face in a way. I feel like he could play the, you know, my dad was Carmine Falcone. Sure, I'm a bit tough, but I'm a drug addict. I'm way too impulsive. I can't really hack what my dad used to deal with. I've got a sister who is way more equipped to handle this. Not that I would ever admit that. I just feel like if you watch Preacher, maybe you know what I mean. I feel like Joseph Gilgun would kill this role. Even if not, I would love him in the Batman universe in one of the spin-off Rogues Gallery rumored movies or whatever, the HBO Max shows, Arkham Asylum, or God knows what else, or in one of the mainline movies. But yeah, that's who I have in mind. But let me know what you think of the character description and my thoughts about the relationship between brother and sister there, and how Sofia is really gonna be the one in the boots rather than her brother, trying to frame it like that, but maybe he just won't hack it. So guys, another story which I found fairly interesting. This was tweeted out by the Batman Film News on Twitter, and it kind of reminded me to speak about it, to be honest, because Mike Flanagan, as you know, absolutely brilliant horror director. I love his stuff. The Haunting of Hill House. Then, of course, there's Midnight Mass on Netflix. Well, on November 25th, he posted about the creative process behind Dr. Sleep when a fan asked him about it, but also in that, he was talking about how he pitched a Clayface movie in 2017. So he says, it all started with a general meeting with John Berg at Warner Brothers. The meeting itself started pretty wild. Adrian Brody walked out the office as I was waiting to go in. John introduced us and we chatted for a few minutes, and I was a little out of whack for the rest of the meeting because I had a very potent, wow, that was Adrian Brody buzz going. We were meant to talk about DC Comics and see if there was anything to do there. I was really hoping to chat about a horror-slanted Clayface movie and about my favorite superhero, Superman. Neither conversation went very far. I had just finished Gerald's Game, and John was a King fan, so we asked about the production, and then he asked if I had ever read Warner's script for Dr. Sleep. And that's, you know, all I really need to take out of that very, very long Tumblr post. Because the interesting thing about this is that, don't forget, The Hollywood Reporter said back in mid-October, and just to refresh your mind here, and this is something we really need clarity on, because The Hollywood Reporter is a major trade, and even if this is just a whisper, there's got to be a merit, a modicum of like, okay, there was some talk about this and maybe it is happening, maybe it's not actually coming to fruition, but there was definitely discussions had for them to publish this in their article. So they said, meanwhile, in Gotham City, filmmaker Reeves is quietly making his own expansion plans. Reeves is developing a sequel to his The Batman, which grossed a respectable $770.8 million worldwide when it was released in March. Already, a series spin-off focusing on Colin Farrell's Penguin is on its way to filming next year, but Reeves is plotting more. The filmmaker is meeting with writers and directors to build out movies, yes movies, not just series, focused on Batman's Rogues Gallery, both established and more obscure, with characters ranging from Scarecrow to Clayface to Professor Pig. All those projects are in the very early stages of gestation. Now, it's funny that Mike Flanagan on November 25th talked about, you know, again, Dr. Sleep has said, actually back in 2017, I pitched and wanted to talk about a horror Clayface movie, and how recently, funnily enough as well, when this report came out in mid-October, I think it was October 17th, from The Hollywood Reporter, talking about how Matt Reeves has met with, you know, these directors and writers to talk about these Rogues Gallery movies, including a Clayface one. I was saying Mike Flanagan. Mike goddamn Flanagan. And it just makes me feel like, I'm not saying it's going to be him or there's any merit to actually, you know, maybe Reeves had those meetings, but they're not actually going to do anything like that. Maybe they're going to do an HBO Max mini thing. Maybe Mike Flanagan's all booked up with projects, but you have to think, if Matt Reeves did, indeed, as per what The Hollywood Reporter literally reported, had meetings with writers and directors to build out movies on Rogues Gallery characters such as Clayface, you know, and Scarecrow and Professor Pig, I really hope that Mike Flanagan was contacted for that, because my God, I feel like he would do a very, 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 I mean, you know, if you know Mike Flanagan's stuff, sure, like not everything is like top tier, but I would say he's been my favorite horror director and writer in the past several years. Midnight Mass was really something special. Haunting of Hill House, I definitely prefer that over Blind Manor personally. But yeah, I just wanted to mention this. Again, there's nothing really like too much to say about it. It's just, we can't forget about that Hollywood Reporter article back in October about Reeves talking about Rogues Gallery spin-offs. We don't know what's going on with that. We really don't. I'm going to be the first to let you know about it when we get more, so make sure you're subscribed with those notifications turned on, and we'll check back to see if Flanagan's Clayface pitch from way back in 2017 could maybe come to fruition one day in the future. Might not. It could be someone else. That's if that movie and the Rogues Gallery spin-offs actually come to fruition with these supposed meetings with writers and directors, but watch this space and just let me know your thoughts on that. So lastly, guys, very quickly here, just wanted to put this out there because still, till today, I'm getting comments saying Matt Reeves' Batman is dead. He's joining the main DCU. There's not going to be any more of the Batman movies, even though we literally know that Matt Tomlin is co-writing it with Reeves right now. And recently, Zoe Kravitz was interviewed by GQ, and when asked if there's any superheroes in her future, she says, oh, you know, I hope so, with regards to, like, you know, that she can come back and be Selina. She says, I think Matt's writing right now, so hopefully Selina gets to come back. So again, like, the Batman 2 is coming. Like, no matter what the naysayers are saying, David Zaslav, Warner Bros. Discovery, have praised Reeves. First look deal. Like, he's, you know, we're going to give anything to Matt that he wants to do. Said by Michael DeLuca and Pam Abdi, like the top dogs, and who were in the position of DC's Kevin Feige until they found James Gunn and Peter Safran. Like, it's happening. It's happening. And I'm sure Selina will be back in some way or another, even if she has less screen time and more of a screen time in the third movie. But that's more the Batman discussion series video stuff. So I'm gonna leave the video off there. There are some other little tidbits that I was gonna get a bit more in depth, but there's not really too much to say, such as Joker 2 was meant to start filming, and I believe has started filming now. I believe the date was November 30th. So I would say more if there was more to say, but you know, that's about it. Just to put in your minds that Joker 2 has started filming with Lady Gaga and Joaquin Phoenix, and obviously I'll keep you up to date. Make sure you are subscribed, guys, because I'm very on this news when it comes out. But Joker 2 set in Arkham is mostly going to be probably filmed on location or in a studio, so we're gonna have to wait and see compared to the little leaks we got beforehand. But you never know, there could be flashbacks or, you know, all kinds of dreamy trippy stuff of Arthur Fleck on the street again, that we might get some more leaks or paparazzi shots like we did with the original Joker film. But that's all I've got for you today, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. What I would deeply and really appreciate is maybe just liking the video. It helps my channel grow, so thank you so much if you did that. Do consider subscribing. My analytics show me that returning viewers come back week to week, and like 60+% of you or more actually aren't subscribed. So maybe today is a day you'll subscribe, and I'm sure you'll find some interesting content on this channel that you'll enjoy. But anyway, I hope you guys have a lovely rest of your day. Let me know your thoughts on all of this news, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.